Okay, so you wake up this morning and bam, overnight, a huge barrage hits Ukraine. We're talking over 650 drones, 50 missiles, just a massive, massive scale, hitting energy infrastructure, central, west, southeast. It's everywhere. And the real cost, it's not just about power grids, it's human. One person confirmed dead, and just awful. 6 children among the 17 injured in Zaporizhia.
6 children. It's hard to even process that.
Right. This isn't just like tactical strikes. It feels like an attack on people's ability to just survive winter. So, okay, let's try and unpack this. This deep dive feels really crucial because it digs into this escalating pattern, this deliberate targeting of civilian life support. It feels strategic. Welcome to the military point. And hey, before we jump in deeper, tell us in the comments where you're watching from. We'd genuinely love to know. So that number President Zelenskyy confirmed. More than 650 drones and 50 missiles overnight. I mean, that volume alone, it sounds almost impossible to stop everything, doesn't it?
It does. And, that volume is precisely the point. It's designed to just overwhelm defenses. Zelenskyy did say many were shot down, which shows the air defenses are working. They are intercepting things.
Okay, so some success there.
Some success, yeah. But he immediately followed with, but unfortunately there have been hits. And that's the brutal math of a saturation attack, right? Even if you intercept, say, 90%, the 10% that gets through, 70 drones and missiles, that's still enough to cause massive nationwide damage. Instantly.
And sources are clear. This wasn't just one area. It was coordinated. Energy facilities hit in central Ukraine, way out west down in the southeast. Feels like a concerted push against the entire grid.
Exactly. A grid-wide effort to maximize the potential for blackouts. And, while those infrastructure targets are strategic from one perspective, the immediate horrifying impact landed right in Zaporizhia. The governor there, Ivan Fedorov, he confirmed the death, the 17 wounded. But that detail, 6 children injured, that just stops you in your tracks.
It really does. And it makes you question the narrative, doesn't it? If the primary goal is just infrastructure, how do you end up damaging 5 apartment blocks in Zaporizhia, along with the energy sites?
Right.
It brings this huge, abstract strategic attack down to, shattering reality for families on the ground.
And that kind of damage hitting homes, that instantly sets up the next layer of crisis. People displaced, fear.
Which leads us right into the core strategic argument here. Prime Minister Yulia Sviridenko was very direct. She accused Moscow of deliberately targeting Ukrainian people and their power supply, especially with winter coming. Her quote was powerful. Its goal is to plunge Ukraine into darkness. Ours is to preserve the light. Pretty stark framing.
It's incredibly stark rhetoric, but what are the actual, technical consequences we're seeing? Does the damage support that dramatic claim? It can't just be symbolic hits.
Good point. It has to be more than just rhetoric. What were the immediate effects on the energy system itself? How does hitting these facilities destabilize things?
Well, it's immediate degradation. The Energy Ministry had to bring in nationwide limits on electricity, not just for industry, for everyone, retail consumers too.
So rolling blackouts, basically.
Or restrictions.
Restrictions, limits. It's an instant break on the economy, on daily life. And crucially, look at the type of targets.
Oh.
Lots of reports mention thermal power stations, specifically those owned by DTEK, which is Ukraine's biggest private energy company.
Okay, DTEK's thermal stations. Let's dig into that for our audience who follows this closely. Why thermal specifically? What's the strategic significance compared to, say, hitting a nuclear plant or hydro?
That's key. Thermal plants are vital for grid stability because they're dispatchable. That means they can ramp power up or down relatively quickly.
Right, to meet changing demand. Exactly. Unlike nuclear, which provides baseload, or large hydro, thermal plants handle the peaks, the fluctuations. Especially important when you get sudden cold snaps and everyone turns the heating on. If you damage enough thermal capacity, you make the whole national grid incredibly fragile, unstable. It becomes really hard to manage those high loads that freezing weather brings. It's aiming for the system's flexibility, its backbone.
So it's not just about causing a blackout today. It's about crippling the ability to handle the demand of winter. That's a longer-term play.
Precisely. It reduces the resilience of the entire system.
And that feeds right into this cascading crisis idea.
Right.
Power goes out, okay. But then what happens to other essentials, like water, heat?
They often go down almost immediately. Think about it. Water pumps need electricity. Central heating systems need electricity to circulate the hot water. So if the power's cut, especially for extended periods, people lose running water, they lose heating. Our sources confirm that happened in some regions, water and heat disruptions right after the strikes. This is where it gets brutal. You're essentially weaponizing the cold, making homes unlivable.
And it doesn't stop there. The disruption hits movement
Oh.
too, right? Logistics.
Absolute critical point. Zelenskiy, this state railway company vital for moving everything from grain to troops to aid reported power cuts down south in Mykolaiv region. That caused significant train delays. Many rail lines are electrified. Disrupt that, and you slow down supplies, you slow down military movements, you slow down evacuations, everything, just when things need to move fast.
It's a ripple effect across the whole country. Let's go back to the human cost for a second, because the details from Zaporizhia are harrowing. Governor Fedorov didn't just say injured. He described the types of injuries.
What did he say specifically?
He mentioned acute reactions to stress, alongside physical wounds, concussions, bruises, and fractures.
Wow. So it's not just shrapnel wounds. It's the trauma, the shock waves, the psychological impact combined with the physical. That paints a much fuller, darker picture of what civilians endured.
Definitely. It underlines the sheer violence of these impacts, even away from the direct front lines. Okay, so turning to the political fallout. Kyiv's response is basically a demand for help, urgently. Sviridenko was explicit. To stop the terror, we need more air defense systems, tougher sanctions, and maximum pressure on the aggressor.
It sounds like a desperate plea driven by the fear this will happen again tomorrow or next week.
You can understand why. Now, we have to contrast that with Moscow's position, at least as it's reported.
Right. Moscow officially denies targeting civilians. Their line is that these strikes are retaliation responses to Ukrainian attacks on Russian territory.
They specifically mention Ukrainian drone attacks on Russian military sites and notably oil facilities.
The response narrative.
So let's probe that denial a bit. How does the official claim of only hitting military or oil targets stack up against the documented reality? 5 apartment blocks damaged, 6 children injured in Zaporizhia. How do those two things reconcile?
Well, they don't, really. That's the core issue, the narrative dissonance. The target's cues points to thermal power plants. Apartment buildings are undeniably linked to civilian life. They support civilian existence. Moscow's framing tries to paint this as a purely military tit-for-tat, but the impact we see in the sources, the consequences on the ground, are overwhelmingly civilian and critical infrastructure.
And the timing.
And the timing, hitting power and heating infrastructure right on the cusp of winter, that inherently undermines a purely military response argument. It strongly suggests a broader strategic aim related to civilian hardship.
So for anyone listening, thinking about this, knowing the difference between hitting, say, a fuel depot versus a thermal plant, crucial for heating homes, what stands out to you about this disconnect between stated intent and actual impact? Something to consider.
And that scale we talked about, that overwhelming number, over 700 drones and missiles combined, that brings us straight back to the air defense problem. A barrage that large is explicitly designed to saturate defenses. Doesn't matter how good your systems are individually, if you face that many threats at once, some will get through. Penetration is almost guaranteed.
So it's not just about needing more systems, but maybe different kinds of systems. Like, what do you use against 650 relatively slow drones versus 50 much faster, more powerful missiles? It feels like you'd need a mix.
Exactly right. It has to be a layered defense. You need sort of high volume, maybe cheaper interceptors for the drone swarms, things like Gepards or other systems designed to handle lots of slow targets cost effectively.
Right.
But then for the ballistic missiles, the cruise missiles that can hit those big power plants deep inside the country, you need the more advanced long-range systems. Patriots, SAM-PT, things like that.
So this attack really highlights the need for both quantity and quality tailored to this specific threat.
Precisely. This latest huge attack just underscores why Kyiv keeps pleading for more air defense. They need the capacity, the numbers, and that technological layering to even stand a chance against attacks on this scale. They're basically racing against the clock and against winter.
And placing this in the broader context, Russia's invasion is nearing the 4-year mark, isn't it? This feels like a continuation, maybe an intensification, of targeting infrastructure critical for civilian life, weaponizing hardship.
Yeah, it fits a grim pattern. So if we pull back and synthesize what we've learned from this deep dive, the key takeaway is the sheer scale and coordination of this attack. It deliberately degraded critical civilian infrastructure like those DTEC thermal plants vital for grid stability, causing immediate nationwide power issues. And tragically, it led to direct humanitarian consequences, the deaths and injuries, including those children in Zaporizhia. Understanding this helps grasp the really dire strategic reality Ukraine is facing right now.
So here's maybe a final thought to leave you with. The sources strongly suggest this strategy, of weaponizing survival. Hitting heat, hitting power, right as the temperature drops.
Which really poses a critical question, doesn't it? How fast can the international community adapt its support? It's not just about tanks and ammo for the front line anymore, although that's still vital. It's also about providing the tools for civilian survival generators, backup heating, repair capabilities, and maybe most urgently, those specialized layered air defense systems we talked about, the ones needed to prevent this kind of attack from creating a full-blown humanitarian catastrophe this winter. It's become a race against the cold, a race to protect basic human life.
You've been listening to The Military Point. Stay sharp, stay informed, and we'll catch you next time.